So I want to talk this morning, I want to give an alternate history of PDF. We've had several different introductions to PDF over the course of yesterday and this morning, about its features, perhaps about the history of Acrobat, history of functionality in PDF. I want to give the history of PDF through the concerns that people have expressed about it. A little different take on what was going on in the world at times when PDF was changing, how we see PDF reacting to the world that it's in, and a little bit about where PDF is headed in the future. So we'll start off with the beginning of PDF. We'll watch it grow and expand in popularity. We'll watch it come into its own, and then we'll see it perhaps stumble a little bit. Talk about where PDF is today, and a little bit we'll wrap up with what the future holds. Before that, just a brief note about me. My name's Matt Kuznicki. I'm the CTO at Datalogix. I've been working with PDF for about 15 years, so through most of the time span that I'll cover. The very early years I'll be talking about primarily through the historical record. I can't quite say I was there for them. I'm on the board of the PDF Association. I'm active in the PDF standards community, defining where PDF is going, as well as providing guidance to people who are implementing PDF today. But you didn't come here to hear about me. You came here to hear about the humble beginnings of PDF. I want to take you back to 1993. It's a little different time. Maybe some of us were wearing flannel, listening to very grungy, sad music, a lot of rain, guitars. And the world of print was really ruled by Adobe PostScript. PostScript had come along in the 80s, had come along to solve a very important problem, and that is, how do you get a document format that you can print reliably across devices? Print reliably today, tomorrow, next year. PostScript was a great moneymaker for Adobe, but John Warnock, who was leading the PostScript charge at that time, if I'm not mistaken, understood that there was the need for a reliable format, not just for printing, but for people to be able to view documents on their computers as well. So Warnock took the lessons we learned from PostScript, and he applied them to a new format called PDF, Portable Document Format. PDF was designed for compatibility and for portability across not just different screens, but also for conversion to PostScript for printing, to give a reliable representation visually of a document that was repeatable, that you could give to somebody, they could open it, they would see the same thing that you saw when you wanted to give it to them. Audience was primarily a business audience. The first version of Acrobat, $2,495. Even just to read PDFs was $695. 8-page ad in the Wall Street Journal introducing Acrobat Reader 1.0. All the great features for business. That was the target at the start. The business community didn't really understand the value proposition at that time. But at that time, we exchanged TIFF files, we exchanged images, and we accepted image files as archival and as ways to preserve visual fidelity. We could take a TIFF file, we could hand it off to somebody else. They would see what we intended. Why did we need another format for that? The concept of having information that was more than just human readable wasn't really on anybody's radar at that time. So raster images were just fine. All the users of the documents We're human beings, after all. And in the print industry, Adobe had really conquered the industry with PostScript. There's a huge ecosystem that invested a whole lot. This ecosystem looks around and goes, why should we invest in new format? PostScript does what we want it to do. It prints reliably, it prints well, it prints high quality documents. Things aren't broken, why fix it? No differentiation was really made apparent to start, and so PDF didn't quite catch on at the beginning. But it caught on well enough to have some complaints about it, right? PDF is a derivative of PostScript. It learned lessons. It took after PostScript maybe a little too much. So to the world, it's just another PostScript. A lot of PDFs were just wrappers of images. Why do we need another image format? We already have enough of those. As a binary format, PDF wasn't really editable. I can't open it in a text editor. Word won't open it. How do I change my PDF? And finally, just to view PDF, I've got to fork over hundreds of dollars. Hundreds of $1993, mind you. Probably thousands now. I've got to pay just to see what somebody sent me? Nah. So Reader 2.0 comes along. Reader 2.0 starts to pick up some features that differentiate PDF from PostScript and from image formats. There's encryption and security that starts to be added. People can add passwords to documents to prevent others from opening them, but there's also a well-documented way to allow people to open documents, but to restrict what they can do with them, which is quite new at the time. CJK support is kind of a thorn in the PostScript world. PDF starts to address the need to support languages outside of European and Latin text. Color space compression support starts to expand over image formats and over PostScript. And Adobe publishes PDF and allows anybody to create implementations around it. The publication was not just of the image format, but was also a patent license. People could use these patents with restrictions to make their own PDF implementations. With 2.0, Adobe also realized that people aren't going to pay to view PDFs, so they make viewing PDFs free and they cut the price dramatically on Adobe Acrobat. They also add a plugin architecture to Acrobat and to Reader. This starts enabling others to add in to Acrobat and to Reader to start adding functionality to PDF that Adobe has not added. This creates really a lot of excitement around PDF and a lot of excitement for vendors who can start to plug in to this new format and its advantages. Adobe provides some plugins too. One of them is a set of plugins for web browsers so people can put PDFs up on the web and have these view within web browsers themselves. As well as Acrobat providing a print driver so that anybody has a program that can print, all of a sudden could generate PDF. All moves to really expand the adoption of PDF, and it works. It catches on. PDF through 2.0, through Reader 4, starts to find its strengths. The graphic arts community starts to see the advantages of working with PDF. Adoption starts to pick up alongside PostScript. At that time, there's a lot of conversion of PDF to PostScript for print. With the drop in price and with the ecosystem, we start to see business users really understand the value proposition behind PDF, the ability to exchange one file and have it be reliably read by receivers really all over the world. we start to see moves to use PDFs as archival formats. PDF is a format that will open the same next year, the year after that, really starts to fill a need for archiving of different documents. And it maintains its strengths in representing information in a way that's visually reliable across viewers. Or does it? Not quite. As it becomes more popular to start complaining about PDF. Chinese, Japanese, Korean supports comes in, but it doesn't come in as well as it could. And support for non-Latin languages outside of Chinese, Japanese, and Korean remained subpar. So the rest of the world, they notice this, they start to complain. They buy software too. Can't someone cater to their needs? As a visual representation, PDF doesn't really help the blind. It's great visual layout, but if it can't be translated or read into a different form, how does it help somebody who can't see a piece of paper or see a screen? PostScript still has a large investment. PDF investments, by and large, are incompatible with these workflows. Leveraging existing investment, still important. And PDF, while the specification is freely available at this point, there aren't a lot of people making PDF implementations. While this isn't Adobe's fault, the community still perceives this perhaps as Adobe's fault and wonders, why aren't there more vendors? What's going on? Adobe, is this really an open format? What gives? Elsewhere in this world, there weren't too many implementations, but there were some growing. And as these start to come along, these other implementations, we find there's some ambiguity in specification and interpretation. The promise of reliable viewing starts to fall apart a bit. Adobe updates Reader and Acrobat frequently at this point, perhaps too much so. Frequency of updates becomes a real issue. This includes the plugins for the web browser components, not just in their frequency of update, but in their use as attack vectors, a bit of a security issue. And then, while Adobe publishes the PDF spec, they maintain ownership over this. People start to wonder, is this really a good thing? And PDF, while it was being expanded, actively picking up new capabilities, offering a lot of flexibility to match what was being asked for by users, perhaps too much flexibility. A PDF doesn't have to be a high quality document, it can just be a wrapper for an image. And there are a lot of these PDFs coming out at that point. It really starts to undermine claims that PDFs can be searched, repurposed, indexed, and used in other workflows. PDF picks up the ability to make PDF specific to a given environment. This starts to get abused, and we start to lose more the promise of reliable interchange. Acrobat Reader's permissiveness with following links with JavaScript interpretation and with the features it supports, we start seeing PDFs that just aren't interoperable at all with other implementations. And these updates, especially the specification, well, they get published concurrently with Acrobat and with Reader updates. This leaves everybody else scrambling to catch up when Adobe releases new versions of tools and always feeling that they're being left behind. And at this time, it was fashionable to view things as platforms. PDF, it started to get envious of some platforms out there. It started to try to become everything to everybody. Now, think back 2006, 2007, you couldn't go 30 feet without hearing someone speaking something about XML and how XML is going to save the world. It became really trendy, and PDF, you could really see it getting jealous, so PDF decided to become XML. We called this the Mars Project. So XML, there was a representation of PDF, just same syntax, different way to represent it. HTML had forms coming out. Forms were driving workflows to let users submit information over the web. These were XML-y, it was markup-ish. PDF got jealous. They decided, oh, everyone's talking about XML, everyone's talking about forms. Let's pick up an XML forms architecture and let's pretend it's a PDF. Even though it's not a PDF at all, but we'll claim it is. We won't publish the specification, but we'll say it's PDF anyway. This Flash thing came along. These Macromedia people were taking the web by storm with interactive websites, interactive applications. PDF was already jealous, and you could see it just start to become more jealous, so it welcomed Flash into PDF. It said, okay, Flash, we'll give you the ability to be part of PDF. We won't really say entirely what Flash is, but we'll let you make PDFs that also you need a Flash program just to be able to read these. Web browsers, everything was web at this point. I mean, they were trendy, PDF wanted in. PDF brought on the JavaScript, put JavaScript into PDFs to change how they looked, how they acted, how they behaved. You could link to external files, you could link inside. You've been able to do that for quite some time, but this really got emphasized. And monetization was just starting to cross everybody's lips. How do we monetize content? The PDF, well, it was jealous. It wanted in. So it partnered with Yahoo and said, we'll make PDFs that when you open them up, we'll go hit up an ad server and we'll serve you ads tailored to your interests just when you open up this PDF. Jealous it was. This really started to mix messaging about what PDF is good at. A PDF, not just frozen documents, you could actually reuse these. You could edit these, but good luck finding an editor. PDFs were not just for desktops. eBooks were starting to become popular. PDFs were great for eBooks, but try reading a PDF on a smaller screen. Tremendously painful. PDFs were a great archiving format, but we keep changing the standards so you can never really keep up. What's an archivist who needs reliability to think? PDFs, above all, still reliable ways to exchange documents and have them look the same from viewer to viewer, from reader to reader, machine to machine, implementation to implementation, except for all the instances in which this broke down. It was sad. These were dark times. We see this reflected in the complaints of the era. If Adobe owns PDF, they keep changing what it is. Can't they change the terms in which we are allowed to make implementations? All the features added to PDFs have made them a big security problem. Why are these documents, why are business documents a way for viruses to come into my organization? Too many features only work in certain implementations. These things that don't work, the perception of PDF viewers, error-prone, not reliable. Why are these so error-prone? So I want to take a step back and I want to talk about somewhere else in the world at this time. I want to talk about HTML. HTML is fascinating because it was going through some of these same growing pains at the same time. Browser wars with incompatible extensions, incompatible rendering, things you'd have to write differently for different browsers just to get them to appear reasonably the same. HTML was easy to write, maybe too easy to write. HTML with invalid syntax, really what roamed the world, not just by, one-off implementations or people writing by hand, but by very popular tools as well. But browsers had plugin architectures, really allowed browsers to become platforms and expand the reach of HTML, just like Acrobat and Reader with PDF. And we started to see HTML also trying to become one solution to solve everybody's problems. So how did HTML and PDF end up with different histories? It's because the HTML community gained focus, started to concentrate on what HTML is good at, and they started leaving other things to other people to do. So PDF, I'm going to fast forward to today's world. And PDF, even with all the doom and gloom that I've just regaled you with, we know it's still a very important part of today's world. It is far and away the best way to represent formal documents that you need to be reliably able to pass along to others. Others in your companies, others at different companies. When you want a visually reliable presentation to present to the world. It's the best way to archive documents, preserve these when you have requirements that somebody be able to read your documents tomorrow, 5, 25, 75, 100 years into the future. We see some of the interchange issues being resolved, and PDFs are more and more searchable, more and more reflowable. We see these starting to become more popular for electronic data interchange. I believe somebody's giving a presentation later today on electronic invoicing in Germany and Europe, the Zugford standard. It's a great example of PDF for machine-to-machine data interchange. And PDF has really eclipsed PostScript, taken on the role of the standard for reliable print and the preservation of, and the transfer of visual appearance from screen, from editor to paper. A PDF has become a community effort. So in 2008, Adobe gave to an organization called AIM, I forget what it stands for, sorry, the PDF specification with the intent of AIM bringing this to ISO and opening the standard up to the world. This opened up participation in the PDF ecosystem to a wider constituency. As a standard no longer owned by Adobe, the community understood that the terms could no longer be changed. This included an explicit patent license for other implementations, something that can't be changed, something that can't be revoked. The terms will remain the same in the future for other implementations. And the community has really latched on to this, and it's really a community effort at this point to refine, to expand, and with PDF 2.0 in some ways, actually to contract the feature set of PDF to make it more useful, more standardized, and less open to subjective interpretation. This, both through standards as well as through best practices that have spread through the PDF community over the past 10 years. Organizations such as the PDF Association, which I'll give a short plug for, is putting on this event. Great resource for best practices. Through ISO, the International Standards Organization, and through other organizations. But comparisons to other formats remain inevitable. So PDF still seen as heavyweight and inconvenient versus other formats, still seen as frozen, still seen as hard to edit. A lot of advice out there says if you need to edit a PDF, well, just scan it and OCR it and bring it back into an editing workflow. It's still seen as very complicated. PDF's a binary format. It's well nigh impossible to just take an editor and open it up and just see what's going on under the hood. One still needs to be somewhat of an expert to really dive into it. So this means these complaints, they still linger, whether true or not. So PDF, as an enhanced image format, it offers the flexibility for people to generate those. That means PDF gets the blame for software that does this. PDFs are still seen as insecure, even as applications have really worked to enhance the security of PDF, put these into jails, into containers where PDFs can't call out to external resources. They can't really pull a fast one on you anymore. But the flexibility means that PDFs can still ask to be attack vectors. It's up to applications to ignore these requests. And PDF the reliability across platforms, well, best practices for viewers are out there. They are clearer, but that doesn't mean that every viewer follows these best practices. But there is a thriving ecosystem out there for PDF. Support is widespread. It's very easy to create support or to create PDFs. There are many toolkits out there for working with PDFs. There are standards and best practices to ensure reliability for those who are interested. And PDF has really won, I believe, the mind share of the world as a first-class archive, exchange, document format. So where's the future going? What is the future of PDF? Through the community owning PDF, PDF is doing what HTML did a decade ago and starting to get back to its strengths. So concerns that PDF will have no purpose in tomorrow's world of different screen formats and sizes are overblown. There will always be a need for reliable presentation of information. PDF 2.0 really helps address a lot of concerns, but adoption is going to be a slow process. Unfortunately, PDF 2.0 is going to be a specification that we expect people are going to have to pay for. That's going to hinder adoption quite a bit. And even if it were free, that wouldn't magically turn existing PDFs into PDFs that conform to best practices and norms of today. The reliable interchange still relies on an ecosystem of reliable PDF readers, reliable PDF writers, whether that's minimum acceptable standards, such as the keynote speaker this morning started to talk about, whether that is a corpus of accepted practices the community develops. These really need to emerge and come to the fore, and they have to be achievable or they will be ignored. The future is one where PDF plays to its strengths. We have to understand that reliable interpretation and presentation comes with trade-offs. It comes with restrictions. Reliable interchange restrictions comes with minimum standards, expectations. So we expect PDF to remain flexible when it's possible, but we as a community have to start discouraging flexibility where this hurts the community of vendors and hurts our user community. And we have to learn to coexist well with technology that solves problems where PDF isn't the best solution. So those who want to read a little further about the history of PDF when these slides go up, we'll have some good links here. With that, I'm happy to take any questions. Also, there may be a microphone that...
I have a question.
Use the microphone so we can get it for the recording.
Okay. My question is, what are you saying by there will not be a free standard for the 2.0?
So, when Adobe gave the PDF standard to AIM to give to ISO, they gave it with kind of a one-off agreement to allow Adobe to publish what became ISO 32000 freely to their user base because they had published earlier versions of PDF in the past. So that was a condition that they gave upon the exchange. But now that the standard is owned by ISO, the International Standards Organization, it falls into the same rubric that other international standards fall into, where there is a fee associated with obtaining copies of the standard. And I'm not aware of any arrangement to allow for free publication. This isn't to say that might not change before. PDF 2.0 is official, but I can't speak to any changes that are planned in that as far as publication and the need to acquire that through ISO is concerned.
Matt, the PDF portfolio concept seems to have been largely ignored by the user community. Is that something you think is just going to go away, or do you think it will be enhanced in the next iteration of the standard?
I'm not aware of any enhancements to it in PDF 2.0. You're correct. It didn't really catch on, and that, I believe was because there's a very limited set of viewers that could properly and completely handle portfolios. While it will remain a documented feature of PDF 2.0, I don't really expect any increased uptake in the community at large. The need for that, I think, has really been fulfilled primarily through PDF attachments.
You mentioned that we are now getting smarter and we are not trying to solve all problems, and there's things that are better than PDF and we interface with that or something. Can you give me some examples of these that come to mind?
Okay, so sure. So standard disclaimer, my opinions are mine and mine alone, of course. But for example, for electronic books, for ebooks where it is more important to be able to reformat for a wide variety of screens, different sizes, different not just of screens, but of different font sizes required for different people with different visual, different visual abilities. Formats like HTML, formats like EPUB, which is essentially a piece of HTML frozen in time, really solve the problem of reflowable content on small screens in a way that is better than PDF. Now, PDF can solve this problem. We see that with tagged PDF, and we see that with PDF UA, where the information about what the different markings on a page mean, and enough information to be able to reformat and reflow that is present. But we see that there aren't a lot of creators of PDF that put that information in. Whereas for a format like HTML, that's really baked into the format from the start. Oh, I think we have a question up here.
So the notion of things called PDF fidelity has been mentioned, meaning that as an author I generate a PDF and I'm confident that any viewer will see the PDF the way that I generate it. But in the business cases, there are a lot of cases where as an author I need to generate a PDF in one way, but as a viewer, a consumer of the document has to see it completely differently without changing the content. Just the visual has to be different. So I want to preserve the fidelity of the content, but I want to enable the consumer to be able to see the PDF in a way that they intend to consume it rather than in a way that I intend to create it. Is that a part of the PDF spec, or is it part of the implementation in your opinion?
So, I mean, that's really going to be up to the viewing implementation. The PDF is a specification. We're working to reduce ambiguity, but we do understand that certain features, they can be presented in different ways based on your viewing situation, your viewing environment. I don't know if that quite answers your question.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
In medical, in healthcare,
Okay.
when I generate patient records, for instance, by law, I'm required to put all the information in chronological order. 5 years ago, you came to the office. This is what your symptoms were. This is what your, everything about you, right? And then you came the year after, and the year after, and the year after, right? And the doctor generates this and in the PDF.
Okay.
Now, they keep the data in EMR, for instance, but then an acceptable exchange is, Dr. A gives Dr. B a PDF or a patient, right? And the patient carries the PDF to another provider. Well, the other provider isn't interested in your chronological order. They're interested in the pattern. How did your blood pressure change? So they would like to take the blood pressure from each year and combine it and look for a pattern just to find out where you stand as a new patient of his or hers.
Sure.
So this is an example of where, first doctor generates a document where they want the content not to change. Right? It's important for the content, nobody to change the information, right? It's your healthcare record. But the other doctor finds it completely useless. And instead, or imagine an emergency situation, right? Where an EMR, they know nothing about you, but somehow have access to your information. They want a quick look at what your vital signs are, for instance, or have been.
Sure. So in that case, while PDF is something that we can bring into a viewer and view as people, a well-constructed PDF also has that same information that is machine readable, computer extractable, and can be repurposed into workflows that need to present an alternate version of that information. So to parse out those specific pieces of information, such as your blood pressure readings over time, and reformat that into a representation that might make sense for its audience. Now that representation might not be a view of the PDF at all. It may very well be, for example, a program that reformats that information into an Excel spreadsheet, just for the sake of illustration. That's not really viewing that PDF, but that is, a workflow that uses PDF for the reliable interchange of information across applications. So does that?
I can go on, but I don't have time.
Yeah.
There has to be a common language, right? What I call the blood pressure. Within the PDF, it's not just enough for me to say, well, that's a paragraph, and that's a paragraph, and that's another paragraph. What does it mean?
Right.
We have to agree between the two systems on what I call that paragraph, what the meaning of it is.
Right. Definitely we do. There are agreements on, the meaning of information. That's really, those specific pieces are outside the scope of PDF as a specification.
Anyone else back here? Let me pick up on one other component of your presentation, on the security issue. Two parts of this. One, on the communication of PDFs as, let's say, attachments, where you said fear of the business institution that's receiving it, opening themselves up to some sort of virus attack, malware, whatever it might be included in JavaScript code. Or two, thinking I've secured a PDF, sent it, and subject to having some server somewhere do a brute force attack on that and cracking it open. Where do you see those types of security risks being minimized in the future, whether it be by new standards or some sort of community influence?
So the first part of your question, receiving PDFs from, really, any source and being able to safely view them. That is really, the community effort's twofold there. First is, let's not write PDFs that use these interactive elements that can be, potential security issues. And the second being, as readers, as interpreting programs, we need to make sure that we handle these requests for external resources or to execute what might be suspicious or untrusted JavaScript in ways that mitigate their potential to harm the readers of these documents. That really, I believe belongs, is rightfully in the hands of applications that, read and interpret PDFs. The flexibility's there. I think it's on, these implementations to reduce that flexibility when that flexibility is not needed. As far as encryption, security, and brute force attacks, the PDF standard, continues to update. It's allowed methods of security. It's allowed key lengths, and to make it harder to brute force, attack and decrypt PDFs that are out there. Unfortunately, existing PDFs from 10, 15 years ago, we can't really put them in a time machine and make them both compatible with the version that they were made with PDF and more resistant to, attacks through brute force or other methods. Certainly, one can write, one can imagine a program to bring them in, update their compatibility, and make them harder to attack. But that is certainly an active concern, the standards community, making sure that, we keep up with, accepted encryption protocols, to keep PDFs secure into the future.
Anybody else with a question?
Got one in the back there?
Hi, Matt. So just a question for you. I think one of the features about PDF, which was significant in the past, was that whatever you created then, you would always be able to see in the future in the format that it was originally created. And I guess that would be one of the reasons which really put it forward as being something significant to allow that. So, in 100 years, if I had that description, I could still go back and look at that document, right? What I wanted to confirm is, based on what I've heard over the last couple of days, is will some of those features now be put forward as being obsolete, which then might compromise on what I've just said, respective as to whether or not you will be able to see, say, a document that was created 10 years ago.
So certainly, reliability of being able to open PDFs now in the future is really a primary, goal of PDF as a file format. The PDF continues to change over time, but that does not invalidate previous versions of PDF. So if we take something like PDFA, for example, PDFA1, based off of PDF 1.4, those will remain viable, reliable, and readable into the future, in part because they are explicitly required to be interpreted as PDF 1.4 documents. So not as PDF 3.0, PDF 6.5, whatever version of PDF we have 100 years into the future, but they're required to be interpreted in the standard that was in effect at the time that they claim compatibility with.
Okay, all right. Am I passing this on to someone else? Or?
Do we have any other questions? We might be just about out of time. All right, well, thank you, everybody.